Mihir, one of the objectives of CDKN in India is to increase the climate resilience of poor people. What kind of vulnerabilities do India's poor face?
The India's poor face a whole range of vulnerability in addition to being poor. For example, as fishermen in the coastal areas, they face vulnerability of their income being uncertain, loss of their asset or damage to their asset, access to school and education for their children, not having access to health because the roads to the hospital may be flooded with water from time to time, not having, for example, enough savings to be able to make even small replacement to their house in terms of raising the plinth or making a small little bridge across a small little stream between the two villages. So the whole range of vulnerabilities that poor face, and that's increasing almost every year, not only in terms of seasonality, but also in terms of the climate change related events such as cyclones, such as floods, for example, flash floods, droughts repeatedly.
So what is happening in India to increase climate resilience in the face of all these challenges?
There are a range of efforts being made at the government level, both national, state and district level. National action plans, state action plans, in some cases district action plans as well being made. There are national missions which are set up to look at various aspects of climate compatible development, resilience building. Within the civil society, there are a range of organizations, networks have come up to raise the issue of climate risk to agriculture sector, for food and nutrition, for water, for example, drinking water specifically. A lot of efforts are being done. I think the largest effort is done by the poor people themselves by making small day-to-day, week-to-week, season-to-season adaptation measures to protect their assets and to protect their livelihoods. And that, I think, is the largest amount of effort that's being made in India. If there was any way of supporting that, encouraging that, consolidating that, it will go a long way.
Give us maybe a sense of your personal experience in grappling with these issues. You're the co-founder of the All India Disaster Management Institute. You have a lot of on-the-ground experience in helping the poor, assisting them in their effort to cope.
We've been working in Orissa, for example, coastal area. It's a delta of Mahanadi. And as far as SREX report says, or AR5 report will very soon say that this delta area will be facing more cyclone, more flooding, more sea level rise, salinity ingress, at least these four things, if not any other climate related hazards. The poor people there who work on agriculture, coastal agriculture, which is different than mainland agriculture, face loss of crop, damage to their crop in agriculture sector, fisheries sector. And last year we had a large, very huge cyclone called Cyclone Philin, and luckily the state government was very active, agile, and they were able to evacuate the largest number of people ever evacuated in recent Indian history. However, a cyclone did came. Not many lives were lost, very few, sadly, but still very few lives were lost. The loss of livelihood is very widespread, and the poor people there, as farmers, fishermen, small and medium businesses, are making efforts to recover from that. One of the things which was done with the communities in a district called Puri, Satwadi block, was to have insurance coverage. And the poor people had decided to have insurance coverage. They paid the insurance premium of roughly 140 to 200 rupees. Then the cyclone came. The lives were not lost, but houses, assets, crops, stock in trade were lost. And just last week, that is last week of February 2014, they were paid the insurance amount. So, it was very good example of poor people saving money to use that to protect themselves from future losses and damage. Yeah, which was very, very touching.
What is the role for an alliance like CDKN in a country facing as many climate hazards as India, but with so much potential for climate compatible development?
I think CDKN has tremendous scope and role in India. The most important one being that the whole development path can be seen differently, and in two ways. One is that any future development is seen as climate compatible development, that is development which is taking care of not harming natural resources and ecosystem anymore. In fact, using climate compatible development to generate jobs for the poor people and protect their assets, increase their access to health, to education, to financial sector, for example, and drinking water and sanitation. So that's one very concrete path. Second is that the development that has taken place in the past, that needs to be retrofitted. And how do you retrofit that? And again, CDKN can contribute in terms of knowledge that how the development that has actually taken place, may it be a bridge, may it be an economic institution, may it be a financial mechanism, could be retrofitted so it is climate sensitive, climate compatible, and continues the development process. I think in the end it should lead to ecosystem based development, where development is not undermining the ecosystem but is actually nourishing and enhancing the ecosystem wherever that development is taking place. I'll give you an example of how poor people are really willing and able to walk on the path of CCD, climate compatible development. If you take poor women in Gujarat, North Gujarat, which is a very vibrant economy as a state, but there in the state, they are taking out loans from each other or their self-help group to buy a lantern which is solar power based, because electricity hasn't reached yet. And even if it will reach there, they will continue to use this because it is cheaper, it's renewable, it is something for which they've taken out a loan, so they will be saving money on that. And that's very heartening that poor people don't need to be explained that they need to use renewable energy, but wherever they have a chance, they are actually using it.
Do you see ways that women and men are differently impacted by climate change in India?
Yes, women are men differently impacted in a sense that the impact on men is mainly on their economic activity, that is farming or fishing or construction work if they are in blue-collar jobs. But for women, it's not only the work that they do, that is, they may be landless labor in the farm, they may be doing handicraft work, they may be artisans, they may be rolling beedis, for example, they may be repairing irrigation canals, they may be pitching the road shoulders to make the road stronger. So that work is affected by climate change in terms of number of days reducing if there is a heavy rain, that work getting destroyed. Also their work at home, that is domestic work, of milking the cow, for example, thatching the roof every year during a particular season, that gets affected because of climate change, because the grass is still either not dried or too early dried and therefore you can't thatch it again, or the clay walls are cannot be thatched again because the monsoon is longer or shorter. So that is additional burden on women. And then their day-to-day activities of raising the family gets affected. That is, they have to send their children to school, and there is a heavy rain, and that they cannot do, or they have to go and access their own money that they may have saved in the bank, and that they are not able to access. So the impact of climate change on women is threefold in terms of their work that they do to make an income, in terms of their domestic work, and also their family responsibility. And that's a very unequal impact. Having said that, between men and women, also sector-wise, there is very unequal impact of climate change on women. If you take agriculture sector, for example, a large number of people who are employed in agriculture sector are the landless laborers, and among them, large number of landless laborers are women. So the impact on agriculture due to climate change will cause loss to the owner of the farm. But far more impact of that is on the agriculture labor, who happens to be large number of women, and that is very unequal impact between men and women. So I think sectorally also there is unequal impact. I think I feel very positive that it is possible to do both, that is reduce poverty that large number of people in India live in, at the same time address the climate related issues. And I think the trick is that how do you turn this large number of poor people start using climate compatible green and clean technology to generate green and clean jobs. And that is possible. It needs planning, it needs resources, but it's not something which cannot be done. And then we will have actually the whole green wealth or clean wealth generated by people who don't have it. So I feel very optimistic about it.